Hi everyone, it's me, Adrienne Lee, the Wandering Art Historian, back again with yet another video. You know we're talking about how to read a painting, and you know that we've been talking about symbols in art. Today's video is going to be dedicated to the apple. I know what you're thinking, Adrienne, how can you do a whole video on just the apple? And I'm here to tell you, sit back, relax, and just enjoy it because it's going to be a crazy ride. The symbol of the apple, generally associated with sexual bliss, love, marriage, spring, youth, fertility, immortality, things like that. However, we've already seen a couple uses of the apple in art. Let's refresh. Do you remember this painting from a very early video that we did when we talked about the Judgment of Paris, right? Peter Paul Rubens, about 1632 to 1636, the golden age of Dutch Baroque painting, right? And we talked about in mythological stories, guess what? We see a lot of golden apples. Remember, that was the prize to be won in this epic cosmic beauty pageant, right? Here is another example. Here we have a painting by Guido Reni, about 1612, and it's the story of Atalanta and Hippomenes. Okay, so what the heck is this story? Because it looks like they're running and she's picking up something. Yeah. Okay, so Atalanta, this is a story by a Roman poet named Ovid. You remember that guy? Atalanta is the king's daughter, but she is a track and field star. Like, she loves to run foot races and no one can beat her. I mean, nobody can beat her. But she's having a really hard time because she kind of wants to settle down and get married, but all of her opponents are dudes and they don't really like being beat by a girl. That kind of sucks, right? Here's what happens. She makes a proclamation that if she can be beaten in a foot race by a man, she will marry that man. However, if he loses to her, he dies. Hey, it's mythology. You can do that, I guess. The only problem is, right after making this proclamation, she meets Hippomenes, and guess what? They fall in love. And she's like, oh, why did I have to go and make this proclamation? Because now I do want to marry Hippomenes, and he wants to marry me, but we have to have this foot race now, and there's no way he's going to be able to beat me. Darn. However, you may recall the goddess of love, Venus or Aphrodite, right? She smiles down upon these two and she's like, oh, those two crazy kids. I sure do want them to get together. So what she does is she hatches a plan and she gifts Hippomenes 3 golden apples, okay? I don't know if you see where I'm going with this, but it's pretty awesome. The day of the foot race, I mean, she's kind of frustrated. Atalanta's like, I should never have made that proclamation because Hippomenes is never going to beat me and he's going to have to die and we'll never get to be together. However, they start the race, and as she starts to pull ahead, Hippomenes drops one of these golden apples gifted to him by Venus, the goddess of love. And Atalanta is mesmerized, and she stops to pick it up, and Hippomenes pulls ahead. She's like, oh, I better catch up. So she starts running again, and she's about to catch up to Hippomenes when he drops another golden apple, and she is bewitched by these things. He drops 3 golden apples, and she stops to pick up every one of them, and it's just enough so that Hippomenes can cross the finish line before Atalanta. Awesome. They get to be together. He doesn't have to die. It's amazing. It's a win for everybody. So as we see in mythology, these golden apples play a big role in a lot of competitions. And in this case, Venus gifted Hippomenes these golden apples so that he could be with the love of his life. Oh, that's so sweet, isn't it? But let's take a quick journey back to our religious stories, right? Because we've already seen apples. Yeah, we have. Do you remember this painting? Remember, this was the cool collaboration between Jan Brueghel the Elder and Peter Paul Rubens, and they worked together. However, Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, notice they're about to eat the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And what kind of fruit tree is it? It's an apple tree. And I know what you're saying, Adrian. Well, maybe that was just the artist's choice. Yeah, but we're seeing Adam and Eve eating a lot of apples through the course of art history. Here's 3 different examples from 3 different artists from 3 different time periods. And you're like, Adrian, there's got to be a reason. And you're right, there is. So, do you remember our friend St. Jerome? We've been talking about St. Jerome for a few videos now. He was the guy that was like, hey, I know what we're going to do. We're going to translate the whole Bible into Latin. And everybody's like, okay. This is where we get our hang up with the apple. I'm not kidding you. Listen to this story. In the process of translating the Bible into Latin, we find that malum, M-A-L-U-M, with a short A sound, is the word evil in Latin. Okay? However, that same exact word, but with a long A sound, as in malum, M-A-L-U-M, spelled exactly the same way, also means apple in Latin. Yes, the apple is associated with original sin because of a translation error. How awesome is that? Now, with that in mind, I want to show you this very interesting painting. Here we have the Holy Family on the Steps from about 1648. We believe this to be by Nicolas Poussin or one of his followers, somebody who studied him very, very closely. And we have some very interesting things going on in this particular painting that I want to point out to you, okay? So let's first talk about the composition. Now this is titled The Holy Family on the Steps, okay? But we've got a whole bunch of people, so let's analyze that first. Let's figure out who's who. So first of all, in the dead center of this painting, we have whom? We have the Virgin Mary and baby Jesus. They're right in the center. Look at Virgin Mary. Red, covered over in blue, right? The human covered in the divine, and with a hint of white, still emphasizing her innocence and purity. And do you note how she holds baby Jesus almost like she's presenting him to us, the viewer? Very cool, right? Who's this gentleman off to the side? Now, I don't know if you remember from a previous video, but in art history, that would be Joseph, Saint Joseph. Not really Jesus's dad, maybe more like his stepdad. He was gonna marry Mary, but then she got pregnant and there was a whole thing, right? However, he's often depicted as this. It's kind of sad. Older, off to the side, and in shadow, okay? And he looks like he's hard at work, almost like he's got a compass, and he would be a carpenter, so that would make sense. So then who the heck are these people hanging out with the Holy Family? Well, it's an extension of the Holy Family. We believe this to be Mary's cousin Elizabeth, because Elizabeth also got pregnant, right? With whom? That would be John, the cousin of Jesus, who becomes John the Baptist. Why is this important? John the Baptist is considered a prophet or the foreshadowing of the coming of Jesus, the Messiah. Remember, he was the guy in the wilderness, he wore the camel hair and ate locusts and honey and was like, hey, Jesus is coming. That's that guy, okay? They were related. Don't know if you know that, but that's true. Here's another very interesting thing I want to point out to you. Look at the use of primary colors, okay? We believe this to be Poussin, so I'm going to say good job, Poussin. We've got the red and the blue here, and he's cloaked Elizabeth completely in yellow. I don't think he is saying that this is implying any kind of denial or betrayal or a negative connotation. Personally, I think he just wanted to keep the primary colors in the Holy Family, okay? Because it really draws our eye to these figures, doesn't it? Look at this other thing. They're sitting on steps. Now, why would that be? Well, our art historians and scholars believe that Poussin is depicting the Holy Family as they return return from Egypt. Do you remember how they had to flee to Egypt because King Herod wanted to murder babies? Yeah, go with me on this one. So they're coming back home and they're resting, meeting with Elizabeth and John before they head home. But what's very cool about this is the composition. Check this out. Do you see that they are sitting on these steps, right? And how the perspective has it kind of tilted back a little bit, because we would be down here as the viewer looking up at the Holy Family. But also, do you notice a subtle allusion to stairs into heaven, right? Awesome, deliberate, I'm sure. Basically climbing the stairs to this beautiful heaven, blue skies, fluffy clouds. How do we climb the stairway to heaven? It's through the Holy Family, right? Also, I want to point out, speaking of composition, do you notice Poussin has made a perfect pyramid or triangle with the arrangement of these figures? Because we've got this line here and this line here and down here. That makes a perfect triangle. Do you see it? I know you see it. It's awesome, right? But aren't we talking about apples? Yeah, we're totally talking about apples. What you see here is a basket of apples at the feet of the Holy Family. John has taken one of those apples and is in the process of handing it to baby Jesus. Now, I know what you're saying, Adrian. We just talked about how in Latin, apple and evil are basically the same word. And you're right. And what they're saying through this painting is that Jesus is aware that the apple represents sin and that he's cognizant that his fate is to eradicate that sin. Do you see what I'm saying? He's come to undo what Adam did through his disobedience. And John is basically acting like a prophet, even as a child, saying, hey, you're going to have to give your life to undo what Adam did. And Jesus is saying, yeah, I know. So he's accepting of his fate to be the savior of the world. See, that's pretty cool, right? I mean, it's kind of sad, right? But it is pretty cool. Check out this painting. I know, it's very gold. It's very golden, right? There's a lot going on here. I want to point out Mary, Queen of Heaven, in this epic blue dress, right? Check out that crown. I mean, really, right? This is a painting called The Virgin of the Rose Bower. Dates around 1450. And I want you to notice that, see, here's the rose bower right here. Again, remember that red roses are often associated with the Virgin Mary. We also see a few lilies back here, which are also a flower of the Virgin, representing her innocence and purity. But do you notice that the angels are feeding baby Jesus apples? And this is like the angels warning him and preparing him, saying, hey, remember, you're going to be the savior of the world, and you got to undo what Adam did. And that's why we see the angels handing baby Jesus these apples, okay? Check out this. These are two paintings by the same artist, Jos van Cleve. He was a Dutch artist. They're from about this one on the left from 1512 to 1513, and the one on the right about 1525, okay? And in both cases, we see Virgin Mary with a breast exposed, emphasizing the maternity, the motherhood, actually being a mother and child relationship, right? Okay? But we also see Jesus holding an apple. Now, the color has faded just a little bit over time, but he's holding an apple in each one. And this is really an interesting way to emphasize the maternity of the Virgin Mary, but also kind of foreshadow the sacrifice of Jesus, knowing that he will have to give his life to undo what Adam did, right? And it kind of hints at her future sadness too, right? To have to watch her son die. She knows it even as a baby that things aren't going to go great for her son, okay? So there's a subtle hint at sadness too, because Mary is aware of his future fate. I show you this because I want to show you this very interesting sculpture, okay? This is a sculpture of baby Jesus, the Christ child, with an apple. It dates around 1470 to 1480 by a German artist. We see that decorations, altar decorations during Christmas time in Germany in the 1400s would sometimes include apples or statues of the baby Jesus. However, nuns taking their monastic vows were often given sculptures of the baby Jesus. And I thought that was very interesting because if you think about it, a nun is renouncing the things of this world, which also include getting married and having children. So it makes me wonder if they're being gifted a sculpture of baby Jesus because they're not going to be able to have kids of their own. And it's almost like a reminder that, hey, you still serve Jesus and you still have work to do. You still live a life of service in regards to your faith. I think that's kind of cool. I don't know if that's a confirmed thing, that's a theory of mine. I want you to think about how you use the term apple today in 2020, okay? Think about this. We have all kinds of references to the apple. We say things like an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So that makes it seem positive and healthy, right? But then we say things like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right? We know what we're talking about there. But then we say a bad apple spoils the whole bunch, or, oh, it wasn't everyone, it was just a few bad apples, right? But then we have the apple of my eye. When someone means that much to you, they are the apple of your eye. So we're back and forth. Positive, negative, what does it mean? Well, it's a little bit of both, and that's the power of a symbol, right? And ironically, or not ironically enough, that's kind of the issue that we had when we were studying color too, right? How the meaning can change over time and from culture to culture. I would ask you, if I said to you that an apple would represent a particular profession or occupation, what occupation would that be? And if you say teacher, that makes perfect sense, right? You always give the teacher a shiny red apple to say thank you, right? So interestingly enough, a teacher instructs you on things of wisdom, knowledge, maybe good and evil. Do you see how we're kind of circling back around to that darn tree in the Garden of Eden, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? Teachers instructing you in education. Interesting, right? But let's take it a step further, because you might have an apple on your phone, right? And do you notice a bite has been taken out of it? Does that imply that we have taken a bite of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? I don't know. Sometimes kind of feels like our phone is full of good things, bad things. It connects us to the internet, right? I'll let you ponder that one while we prepare for our next video. Thank you so much for tuning in, day out to watch these videos. If you have $1 or $2 that you could donate to my virtual tip jar, that would be awesome. And if not, that's totally cool. Maybe just like the videos, share the videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel. All that is a really big help. Thank you so much for following along with me in this study of how to read a painting. I hope you're having fun. You know I am. I will see you next time. Thanks, everyone. Bye.